Hello, guys. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Guys, this is the last month of the year, and I wish everybody a happy month of the year. So just come and make friends, grab whoever you want, and have fun. Thank you. Hello, guys. Thank you for coming. 6 million people in the building. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you for your support.
To ensure that recipients of remittance inflows and this has shown the same. When you look at the milkmaid, the first time I saw the movie, I knew it was going to be selected. I knew because I said to myself, nothing will come. And big shout out to Jim Benwell. Is a New Jersey-based surgeon, that was really pushing the storyline, and he came to Nigeria. A lot of other people worked on it, Pat Nebo and the likes, and I knew it was quite going to do well. And I think in that category, what the Oscars really look for is how compelling the story is. When you see the film that won last in that category, I think it was a Korean movie, The Parasite. The Parasite was a compelling story of social stratification, of how the have and the have-nots live and things like that. And it was a very sweet story to tell. And I think this will stand a very good chance. There were other movies too that made the cut finally before the Milkmaid made the final cut. Oluturitu was there actually. Oluturitu made it up to the top three, but it didn't make it through. And I'm excited that increasingly Nigerian producers and filmmakers are beginning to understand that that's a category they can pitch for and they can send their movie for. Recently, the first time in like 5-6 months that I went to the cinemas, I went to see the new movie, the Ahana story, the rattlesnake, and largely most part of it too was in Igbo. So that's to show that they're targeting that market of the Oscars, and it's really a good one. And I pray this movie does well. It's got a very compelling story. Not too many big actors on cast, but people that can really interpret the story. People that have a native intelligence of some sort of what is happening in that area. A movie that really reminds me of this movie is The Queen of Katwe. I don't know if you remember that
Yes.
movie about the chess champion. They had to use original people out of there. I think Choice Ojefa to be the very good movie about the boy who harnessed the wind in Malawi. That was another good story too about an inventor. So the things that make the story unique is the people that have the native intelligence of the story. They have lived the story. They understand the compass, as it were, the 360 dynamics of the story. And I pray this movie should go all the way and do well. And it's a good year for Nigeria. It's a year where Bonago has been nominated for the Grammys twice.
Correct.
And if we do well to the movies, to have that first Nigerian Oscar, voila, we're there.
That's
We're top of
right.
the skies, flying like the eagles that we are.
Well, that's all I have for you guys on what's trending today. You guys have a fantastic weekend.
Well, thank you very much, Oji. Enjoy your weekend. And that's all on what's trending. It's time to take another short break. And when we return, we'll be taking a look at some of the testimonies of police brutality as our coverage of the judicial panel on police brutality continues. back to the morning show here on Arise News. And now to this Arise News exclusive report. The call for NSAS victims to come forward to testify is beginning to yield success. In the wake of the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry sitting, more victims from the Lekki Tollgate shootings are now speaking up. Arise correspondent Ozi Ukuli has this story.
Since the setting up and sitting of the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry, the call for victims of the NSAS protest to come forward have intensified publicly. In a closed-knitted safe house in Lagos, some victims of the NSAS protest gathered together to further strengthen their ideology of an egalitarian society and to continue to find solace in peaceful struggle for an end to police brutality, good governance, and a well-structured Nigerian society, which was believed to have been cut short on the 20th of October 2020. When a team of Nigerian soldiers arrived at Lekki Tollgate and opened fire on the protesters who were unarmed.
Before we went, we actually heard that there was going to be coffee that day. Where like a coffee where people plenty, superstar come, the people was there, say which kind of coffee won't take place like that. We went. So I get there, I was also at the snooker board that night. I don't know how to play snooker, I was just standing with him while he was playing. I was like, okay, let me go and check my phone that was on charge. The lights went off, he was just shooting everywhere. The guy that was actually leading me to the charging point was shot outside. So when I started was shot, I tried to turn back to check if it's just a normal something like that. So I received my own attack. Even right now, the bullet is still inside of me, not yet removed. I don't actually know what happened. After it was the next day, and I woke up, I saw myself at the Ikeja General Hospital. When I woke up, I saw myself, I don't have any phone to access anybody, nobody to call. So I begged the friend, I begged someone, I logged in my Gmail to face some company. So my girlfriend's number, so I called her. Later I called my brother, I text some friends. That was actually how they knew that I was at General Hospital. The next day she came, and she has been the one there for me since then. But right now, since the government just provided this thing, the bullet in me is even giving me discomfort, affecting my leg, making it swollen every day. Sometimes my leg got stiff. So I wonder why the government is not shoot at us, why I'm still having the bullet right in my body right now at this particular time.
I met him lying down, sitting by the corner. Can you talk to me? Can't open her. So I was surprised to see in the position in that situation. So I tried to try and see the doctor. If you can be able to transfer him to get, because that is nearby. So they write a letter that he should be transferred that night. But they said there's no there's no ambulance. So the next day, in the night, that is either 23 or 23 or 24. So they brought us to Ikeja emergency. So he was there tied down. They tied the two legs and the two hands. So in the night, that very day, so they said we should go and do the X-ray of the brain. So when the doctor studied the X-ray, he noticed that there is a blood at the front head and back of the brain. So he now said that is why he cannot see anything else. Gradually, when they started giving drugs, the blood vanished. So until about 5 days later, so he started talking, but he did not get himself. When they discharged us from the hospital, he has not been able to say the number. He went there, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. But I see that he has been saying something. So up to now, as at the time he was discharged, they said we should come back January to take dates. Yes, I said, January, this guy is not okay yet. I said we should, with faith, taking time to my please take a nurse, treat him up to this level, but yet he has not got himself.
I think I remember last was that it was my friend that followed to the place. He said we should go and do some updates of works. He was doing those cement tiles that they put on the road. So and all that road. I learned AC. So there wasn't work then. So I was at home. So he just came back, seeing me around, and I asked him to make me for me. So that was just caused incident. So after that, nothing happened to then, to now.
So you were part of those that were protesting on that 20th of October.
I wasn't protesting for anything. It was then that I went there. So when the incident happened, that suddenly they just started shooting people started.
But you were present at the Lekki toll gate.
Yes.
So you didn't join them in the protest. You were just
I
standing.
don't have anything else to use to protect them.
So you were just standing with your friends.
Yes, so that was what makes me together with them. Not knowing that I'll be even involved.
I'm speaking on behalf of my brother who died from this protest. Gabriel Ayola.
What happened to him?
He was shot in the head, and we were actually looking for him because he doesn't stay with us. So it was like 2 days before he passed on that we saw this. Somebody sent it to him on WhatsApp. So they wrote it there that he's at Lasut and that they are looking for his family. So we went to Lasut. So they said he was unconscious for like 2 weeks. So by the time we got there, he was already, he had opened his eyes and he was moving his hands, but he could not talk. They were feeding him through his nose. So, and they were sore all over his body because they did not turn him for a long time. And I think he did not get the right medical attention. So the whole thing, that was what I think led to his death eventually.
As gather to keep hope alive in their NSAS ideology on demand by seeking justice, the victims and their families encourage one another in unity for a better Nigeria, where equity in fairness reigns supreme. These victims of Lekki Tollgate shooting are asking for justice to take its course as they also look up to God spiritually. OCN Code, Rise News, Lagos.
Very touching there. You know, the whole story has been denials and affirmations, whether they were victims or not. But in this report by Uzi Okoli, we can see real life, accounts of what transpired and persons who were injured, families that have lost their loved ones. All of that, for me, makes the work of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry even more important. And I think that people should take advantage of the opportunity to still submit petitions. Nationwide, over 1,400 petitions have been submitted, which relates in relation to what happened in the month of October. But there should be at least more so that justice can be done. And I hope these persons will avail themselves of the opportunity to get justice. However, you will recall that in November, the chief coroner of Lagos State, Justice Mojisola Dada, had reportedly issued a statement that the next of kin of persons who went missing between October 19 and 27 will proceed to the Department of Pathology of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, because the allegation was that certain persons were killed and they were missing because the bodies were mocked up. I mean, I don't know whether you have information about what the development is in relation to that, because there were, indications that some of the persons that went there were not granted access, they were not given attention, and in fact that they were told that they had been given a counter directive from the Lagos State government that nobody should come and should be allowed to come and be looking around the pathology department of that teaching hospital. And I think that's unfortunate because, I mean, there was a statement inviting people. Now it looks like that has been swept under the market, under the carpet. And I think that the chief coroner of Lagos State perhaps owes the people of Lagos State a duty to come forward and offer the necessary clarification.
I mean, you said that very rightly, Dr. Abati, because when I first heard the story, I was really excited about it, but the count of people that went there was really very gory. And in all of this, the chief coroner of Lagos should be able to answer many questions, because people died as a result of this at that point in time. This statement you have seen here is also an indication to the fact that a lot of people have got sufferings, people that have legs have been amputated, they have bullets in their body and things like that. But most importantly, people should be able to identify that they did as we speak. Really, there's some people in Lagos that their family members are missing that they have not seen, and they went missing during that period. There's another group a lot of people talk about. They said while all of the pandemonium went on in Lekki, some people ran into the water. And probably they got drowned in the water. They have not still been able to fish out those bodies again. Because they said a lot of people ran into the water. That's the water behind the hotel in Lekki Expressway. If you remember, the first day after all the transports, I had a roving camera. I think it was Uzi that was going around. One of the people, the young man that shared his testimony, he said the reason he made it was because he could swim, that he was a trained lifeguard, that he swam through that water, and he knew a lot of people were not that lucky in that water. So that's the angle. The first angle you talked about the coroner. Second angle, the third angle was the fact that a lot of the hospitals we felt that people were, were so very narrow in our search. And we said, okay, Reddington Hospital and other hospitals in Lekki, very careful. We had the account of that young man that said he found himself in Ikeja General Hospital. In all of this, Ikeja General Hospital wasn't mentioned as a hospital.
General hospitals were mentioned.
Okay, were mentioned.
Yes.
So look at this man. Look at, and this didn't happen in Lekki. He was found, or he found himself in Ikeja, had to pull a call through. So isn't it time we all check through the records across all hospitals? Because of the pandemonium and the race, you could have been taken to another hospital that might not be in the vicinity of the thing that happened.
We're talking about the hospitals. Some of the hospitals that were reported in the papers, there have also been reports that they were visited by officials of the Lagos State government. This is the allegation. I want not to divulge any information about any persons receiving treatment in their facilities. And if that is true, these are issues that the Judicial Panel of Inquiry should investigate. Is there an attempt at a cover-up? And as for the persons that jumped into the lagoon, I think that was covered copiously in the Premium Times report, which I do not think that people have talked about enough, because you had this investigative report by Premium Times that had all the photographs, that had all the details. But again, it's very unfortunate that this is the case. But let's put our hope, our faith in the judicial panels of inquiry and believe that due diligence will be done. The Lagos State Panel of Inquiry that we see here in Lagos and that we monitor regularly on a weekly basis seems to be on top of the matter. And what people want is justice.
All right, and justice it is, and transparency really. The traffic situation in Lagos City is giving residents a serious cause for concern as they complain of the huge loss of man-hours and negative effects on their productivity as well as their physical well-being. The check by residents shows that the situation is worsening and aided by the repair works being carried out on major roads, actually roads across the state, and the creation of fleets in public transport system, occasioned by violence, heated endsars protests at the end of the year rush. Today has monitoring the situation report, which also explores how the perennial traffic situation can be addressed. We'll be right back after this report.
It confronts you squarely everywhere you go. The difference this time is that the traffic menace is choking more than ever before.
It is aided by several factors, including the poor and decayed infrastructure, which has forced multiple repair works across the fast-growing city. The 11.8-kilometer mainland bridge is currently under a 6-month repair and has been partially shut since July 24th this year. The daily vehicular traffic on the bridge is put at 117,000. A percentage of that figure has been diverted to the alternative.
On this week's episode of Nerf Daughter, I had such a wonderful talk with Femi Kuti that I asked him to stay longer. The musician, the activist, the man of compassion, the voice of Nigeria. Please enjoy this special episode and bonus episode of No Filter with Femi Kuti. Enjoy. Let's start from the beginning like we always say here on No Filter. I mean, I'm trying to remember, where did we first meet Femi?
Wow, the shrine. Oh, no, yeah,
No,
the shrine.
I thought it was the shrine, but I'm thinking...
It was somewhere in France. There was a fashion show somewhere in France, and you were there.
Really?
I think so, in a castle, somewhere like a castle somewhere in France.
In
I might be wrong.
Versailles?
Something, yeah, I think so.
My God, but that's
Very-
like many moons ago.
Very, very long time ago.
You know, what? Do you think it was for designer John Galliano, Christian Dior?
I can't remember who it was for, but I mean, I've done probably 1,000 shows after
Oh,
that.
my God, I've got to look that up now because you really took me there. What I remember is when I got to hug you was in 2018 when you were about to start your rehearsal for the Nelson Mandela 100, the Global Citizen event in Johannesburg.
Oh, okay, yes, that's very clear. That's very clear.
That one's clear. And
Yes, that's very clear.
you were so...
And the next time was at this shrine.
Yeah, and you were just so calm, and you said to me, you just calmed me. Because I was a producer on that show, and I was,
Yes.
you know, we had some hiccups, and we had a fatality also, so it was a lot going on, and you just calmed me right down, and just really just this great, amazing energy of peace.
Thank you.
So, Femi, let's start. Tell me about where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in England, 1962. I was brought back to Nigeria, Lagos, immediately in 63, and I've been in Lagos all my life.
And what was it like growing up in Lagos?
Wow. Very peaceful at the beginning. It was, we didn't have, when you come to Nigeria now, you see all these huge fences. Then
Yes.
there were nothing. We used to sleep with our doors open. It was very safe. There was really no need for security. People left their doors wide open. We had no fences, no barbed wire, no traffic. And after the Civil War, everything just changed. Things started to get very hard and tough. Nigeria got oil, corruption started massively. My father had his first hit in 71. It became very popular, it became very political. The first raid came in 73, and it was a nightmare after that till. And we're
Now,
facing.
How many brothers and sisters, excuse me, sorry, Femi. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
We're 7 in number. From my mother, 3. Unfortunately, my younger sister passed in 2 months after my father in 1977.
So you're now 6.
Yes.
And I mean, growing up being the son of Fela Kuti, who was just this huge symbol, I mean, he basically put like Nigeria, Lagos on the map for many people. I mean, many people got to know about it more through his music. How was that growing up? Was there some? I mean, there must have been some incredible moments. You just must have had some creative people around you.
Yes. There's nothing like my father's music, so of course we had that growing up. Different places he played, he performed, and then it depends on which side you're on. If you're on the side of the people, he was loved with a passion. If you are on the side of the government, he was disliked or envied, and so it depends where you found yourself. The taxi drivers will probably take you around for free because they knew you were Fela's child, or the fare will be very cheap. I mean, you got into a bus going to school. Oh, Fela's son is on the bus. Oh, don't they? Probably will not ask for money. And you go to the bourgeoisie side, and if you had a girlfriend or boyfriend, my sisters, and they found out you were Fela's child, oh, they didn't want anything. They didn't want their children to have anything to do with Fela's children. So, no, of course not.
That would so not be that way right now. Trust.
So it really depends. And then my father said to tour, so we had a very different view of the world. And then of course 1977, first that Stevie Wonder was in Nigeria. All these great American bands came from America, all over Africa. He was extremely popular. He never seemed to be mainstream. All the mainstream artists, James Brown, everybody knew about his music. Miles Davis knew him.
So everybody, when they came through, they
yes.
that.
Yes, I mean, he walked out of the festa, and the government was annoyed because all the artists who came from outside Nigeria to perform, after their performance, were at the shrine or at the Kalakuta. So this really annoyed the government.
Do you feel that, so Fela Kuti was a people's person?
Yes,
do you not feel that the government understood what a national treasure and export that they had? Did they understand?
I think they did, but there was too much invested interest in corruption and greed. And it was hard for them to compromise. It's still very hard for them to compromise their bad character with doing what is right for the people. And don't forget, a lot of African governments protect America and Europe's interest. And so we still have this colonial umbrella over our heads. So this invested interest, they must be seen to be protecting this interest. So of course, people like my father stopped, people like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, people like Patrice Lumumba. So anybody who was Pan-Africanist was stopped. Most recently, Amos Sankara. And so my father was the director.
Did you feel safe as a child?
Never. But you see, as a child, you don't really think about this. But my mother and my maternal grandmother, my mother's mother,
and your mother was also someone of activist too, correct?
No, my grandmother.
Your grandmother, your father's mother.
Yes, but my mother was involved, but nobody knew about her. She was more about protecting her children. And my mother's mother, so I stayed more with my mother at the beginning, and my maternal grandmother. And they were always like very scared for us because they always felt the government could get to us to get to Fela. And there was always a car, I remember. We used to stay somewhere in Sudbury called Ikate. And there was always this car parked from 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. every day. And these two guys would be just reading this paper. And my mother always said, look, they're the SSS. They're the SSS. Be careful, please. But you know, as children, you don't think you want to go and play football. You want to go out with your friends. You want to go to parties. So it was just growing. When I become late in my teens, I started to realize, wow, we have been living kind of very dangerously, like a movie. And when you start to read books like Malcolm X or Patrice Lumumba or Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, or then you start to see, wow, Fela's life is no different. We are in danger every day of our lives. And so it starts getting very tricky or scary.
So did they take any precautions to protect you and your siblings?
Fela was very stubborn, so nobody really thought about security like that. My mother would just say, please be very careful, be very careful. And before she's finished talking, we're out of the door.
As kids do. As kids do.
Yes, you really don't think about, 12, 11, 13, 14, you're not thinking about security in that sense. It's latter, in my latter life, I said to think that, wow, so this family really hated me because I was Fela's son. And then it starts to hurt you that, wow, you mean this happened because I was Fela's son? Oh, I wasn't given a chance because I was Fela's son. Oh, I was loved here, and a smile comes. Teachers even picked on you because you are Fela's friend. We had fights because a lot of the rich kids who are pro-government or didn't like my father because probably their parents didn't like my father, they brought this fight to school. So I had daily fights in school as well. And it was later that I started to realize the gravity, it's not gravity, probably the problem of being Fela's child as well.
Now, you just mentioned Malcolm X. And yes. When did you realize, Femi, that your father, Fela Kuti, was a legend? When did you realize that he was something special, he was different?
I don't know, but from probably when I was, frankly, totally, I would say I was 15, 16, 17, between them. And it was just so obvious. And I don't think he probably realized how huge he was. And I just always felt that because I wasn't
till this very day.
I wasn't being, it wasn't because he was my father, but we listened to everything. We loved Michael Jackson, we loved James Brown, we loved Bob Marley. But there was just something about his music. And probably because we were living what he was singing. So yes, we'd go to the parties, but we always had to come back to Fela's music. And it just seemed, it touched us in a different way. And it wasn't just comments from me, my friends, his fans. He had a very sweet fan base here. And Pete Tosh came to Nigeria. And then I said to say, wow, it's very important in outside Nigeria. And then we said to tour. And the international press paid so much attention to him. And I was saying, wow, he's greater than we perceive here. And everybody seemed to know him. And but he always had this very casual life. Okay, and just do things normal. I said, yeah, right.
As a true artist he was. He just was moving on to the next. Let me ask you, so what age did you decide in your life, having been around music growing up, that you yourself wanted to be in music?
I always knew I wanted to be in music. It was just how, when. Now you have to understand, I never went through the conventional way of learning. I really taught myself 95, 96% of everything I knew. So my father just put the trumpet in my hand, go and play. I had no teacher. Put the sax in my, go and fight, teach yourself. And I found a way. His band leader taught me for 2 weeks. My mother was very angry because she wanted me to get the best education like his father gave it. So she wanted me to go to England. He said no, he didn't want me to go on a colonial structure, then I should go to Ghana. My mother was very against me going to Ghana. So I ended up going nowhere. Well, I ended up joining his band as a kind of apprentice. And Roy Ayers came to Nigeria. And he came, can you play the sax? Yes. I said, yes, I can play. Okay, play this. That was a tune Roy Ayers and my father played on the album Africa Center of the World. And so he taught me that tune, and I joined the band after that in '79. So I played with the band, and he said to give me song after song. Then his fan base just jumped on me. Hey, you are great, you are that, blah, blah, and I got carried away. And when he illegally stopped in 84, and I moved back to my mother. And it was my maternal grandmother that brought me back to earth because I was so arrogant, fella's son. I was quite a lousy saxophonist, but everybody kept saying, yes, sir.
But tell me something, playing the sax is a lot of, it's a lot of like throat, diaphragm. How do you hold that air? God, I tried to blow one once, I feel like my ears were going to pop.
You need good lungs, you need to be physically strong. But then the breath circulation is a technique where you store the air in your cheek and under your chin. And whilst you are breathing, you release the air simultaneously at the same time. So you are breathing. As you're putting the air out, you're taking a deep breath as well. Then you store the air. So when you run out of breath, you let that air out again. You say, I knew this a long time ago. I knew this. My father taught me or showed me the technique, but he could never do the technique. So he just told me about technique. Get straw, put it in water, blah, 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 and I can't do it. And because he could never do it. So one day I tried it on my own, and I got the technique. So I put it on my sax, but it was nothing. So one day, we went to a friend's house and Kenny G was doing it, and I said, I can't do this. And everybody just looked at me like, what? Stop boasting here. Shut your mouth. If you could do it, well, all these years we have never heard you do it. So as soon as we get home, my elder sister, Ayeni, comes, you are boasting. You could do this technique. Oh yeah, show us. So I did it. He said, wow, you really can do it. And you never do it on stage. Are you crazy? And I said, well, the way Fela taught me was, you are not supposed to show off, you are supposed to be a musician, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you must do this. So I said, make sure I do performance.
Grandmother brought that up. So,
yes.
Then when did you start to do like your own recordings and to start to go out on?
Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be.
Anything will happen for inside hole or anywhere, and before we are open eye and you close, the world don't already hear and they don't also see anything happen. And you and the matter when suckers
Tonight, the woman who may be Trump's biggest threat when he leaves office, I'm talking about the Attorney General of New York, Democrat Letitia James. She's leading a civil probe of the Trump Organization right now, which is clearly on Trump's mind. He has singled out the Attorney General by name in his 46-minute-long rant about election fraud. Yesterday saying in part, I hear that these same people that failed to get me in Washington have sent every piece of information to New York so they could try to get me there. And all it's been is a big investigation in Washington and New York and any place else they can investigate because that's what they want to do. They want to take not me, but us down. We can never let them do that. Well, the Attorney General is out front. Attorney General James, I appreciate your time and thank you very much. tonight. So we know President Trump has held talks about issuing preemptive pardons for himself and for his family, for his adult children, for his son-in-law. I just want to be clear, though, so everyone understands, that would protect him federally, but it would not protect him from anything you're investigating, correct?
Well, first, Erin, thank you for having me this evening. And I want the American people to know that the days of this administration are closely coming to an end. And last year, I introduced a bill to the New York State Legislature to close a pardon loophole. And currently, there is nothing in the law in the state of New York that would preclude a investigation by local and state authorities against the Trump organization, Donald Trump, and or any other member of his family and or associates or business partners. There's nothing preventing our investigation from going forward against Donald Trump as a private citizen.
Okay, so now the big question will come. If he goes ahead with these pardons, does that mean that you need to do even more investigating? Does it influence your decision about whether to pursue, criminal law violations? Because you're going to be the only one, really who can, right? The feds can't.
Well, as you know, there is a criminal investigation that's currently being conducted by the Manhattan District Attorney, Mr. Cy Vance. Our investigation, for the most part, is civil. And so our investigation will continue when Mr. Trump becomes a private citizen. Nothing will preclude our investigation going forward. And we will continue and continue to investigate. And if, in fact, the facts and the evidence support the law, we will bring action against the Trump organization and individuals as well.
And let me ask you that about individuals. And I know, obviously, as you mentioned, it's civil thus far for your investigation. Mr. Vance is criminal. Is it possible, from what you've seen, Attorney General James, that there could be evidence of wrongdoing that would lead to civil or criminal charges for individuals, for President Trump, for his children?
What I can say, Erin, is the following, and this is all public record. Our investigation is based on the testimony of Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen testified before Congress, and we at the New York State Attorney General has broad investigatory powers over illegality and fraud. And what we are investigating is the fact that the Trump organization inflated their assets for the purposes of obtaining loans and insurance coverage, and deflated their assets for the same assets for the purposes of avoiding and evading tax liability and or limiting it. And so our investigation will be ongoing, and at this point in time, because it is an active investigation, I'm limited in all that I can say.
Right, which I understand. So let me ask you. You heard the president. Well, you quoted the president claiming that he has been told that all of the evidence that was part of investigations in Washington into him has now been sent to New York, right? He says with the intent of trying to get him. That's how he sees it. But is that true? And as part of that, are you and Mr. Vance, communicating regularly and on the same page about what we do?
So it would be unethical and illegal to coordinate with the District Attorney of Manhattan. There is no coordination. And what we heard yesterday was 46 minutes of ranting, 46 minutes filled with misinformation, disinformation, and outright falsehoods.
Okasha, JJ Lee Charles Okasha, and the Galactic King.
Too late has opened this bitch.
Chelsea,
Motherfucking late and opened this bitch.
against United, Uplands game. Sees the captain for Chelsea with the opportunity for the open goal for Chelsea.
Nigerian leaders, like seriously, are you guys kidding me? My people, before I will leave you now up to the video Mona watch, let me just quickly address this issue. So, our Nigerian leaders, senators, and others, so now get time to address issue like this. Oh my God. Lekki Tollgate massacre happen, una no address any issue. The one wey happen for Port Harcourt, Oyinbo, una no address issue. The one wey happen for Edo State during the EndSARS protest, una no address any issue. All right, my people, before I will continue, good morning, my amazing people. Good afternoon, good evening. I greet you all according to your time. I remain your favorite baby girl, Anointed Lady TV. If you channel, I love you all. So as I earlier said, not be say I dey happy, say they kill people, Boko Haram kill people, but my own be say they no come out address issue to the extent they can't use Christians and Muslims till they make example. Like seriously today, confession don't start to. They don't they confess. Ha! Alright my people, make I leave una up to this video. No una watch. Bye bye.
I'm glad that everybody is ready to say the facts and nothing but the facts. If all these things had been on ground long before now, we would have arrived to a particular point. When this thing came to be, we could not allow this thing to be spoken out, to be spoken out by the people of this Senate. Everybody be hiding feelings, running away from blames. You don't want to say precisely what is on ground. I said it in this chamber that the Boko Haram are all over. They are all over in this country. When they were fighting them in the northeast there, they ran down into the mainstream Nigeria as a whole. They were hiding. They move around with the people to tap information, trying to know how to go about. And it has gotten this way now that we are suffering it. If we keep sentiment aside, we speak as a body, as a people of Nigeria, I am telling you, Boko Haram would have long be a way out of this country. Because at times, we normally speak, try to do some sensation by saying that we are Muslim, we are Christians.
Distinguished, please, I don't think there's any senator here who stood up to say he's Muslim, he's Christian, he's this sentiment. We are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we're trying to find a solution to a very serious and nagging problem. I think we have to be just okay.
Sir, as you earlier said, my trying to differentiate it that way, if you see me as I'm standing there this way, you won't know whether I'm a Muslim or not a Christian. So I speak the mind of what I think other people feel. I could say I'm a Muslim, I could say I'm a Christian. As long as I'm from the north, nobody can detect who I am unless I'm open my mouth to say this is where I belong. So if I'm speaking this thing, I include myself, even the Christians. They are sent out too. Nobody is not blamed on this case. All of us, both the Christian and Muslim, we are sent more harder than hard it was before, we should better be right now. This is the right time. No going back. We'll take it, and most times we don't implement what we talk. Once we talk it and we feel we get out of business, we forget about what to do. Nigerians are too common in doing these things. Instead of taking things into consideration, we don't take it. You will talk your mind, you will do this today, do this tomorrow. When the tomorrow comes, it will no longer be hard. Time without number, that we have been saying this. Solutions to all these things, if you are informed as a war fighter, go with your plans, go with what you have in your mind to go and do. Don't stop exposing yourself outside. Don't let everybody know what you have in mind to go and do outside. If the moment you start thinking that people are hurt you, they will start planning to take it to that different step. If we are trying to do this thing, as we did this morning, we sat as a closed door meeting. Let's take our decision here. Meet the president.
Storytellers, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free and unmatched.
Hello, guys. Thank you for staying. Thank you very much. 9 million people in the building. Just 14 thumbs up. Thank you, guys, for coming to join me on my channel. Thank you, guys.
No matter where the next step takes us, we're taking it. It's frightening. And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Behind the scenes, exclusive access.
Take you inside for an extraordinary tour here at ABC News Live. This is it.
It's time to go there, be there, experience it live on the scene. Maybe that's why, in just 1 year, ABC News Live is already America's #1 live streaming news. And imagine this, it's free. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime, streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. Checking the top stories, President Trump is refusing to say if he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr. Days after Barr said investigators saw no evidence of widespread election fraud, the president claimed they didn't look hard enough. As tensions rise, the White House liaison has been banned from entering the Justice Department. She's accused of trying to pressure staff for more information on election fraud.
Authorities are investigating the shooting death of a 1-year-old boy in Washington, D.C. Police say Carmelo Duncan was in a car with his father and another child when the vehicle was hit by at least 10 bullets. A $60,000 award is now being offered in that case.
The monthly jobs report out this morning is expected to show evidence of an economic slowdown last month as the pandemic took another turn for the worse. 11 states have just reported a record number of new infections. Support on Capitol Hill for a $900 billion economic stimulus bill is growing.
Today's weather, heavy rain in the southeast and along the east coast. That system moves into the northeast tonight. It will be clear across the rest of the country and more strong winds could fuel wildfires in Southern California.
And finally from us on this Friday morning as we close out the week, the gift that keeps the beer flowing.
Ambar is tackling the country's shortage of blood donors by offering a pint for a pint. With blood supplies dangerously low, one New York City bar is hoping to motivate donors and wet their whistle at the same time.
It's very interesting walking past the bar, and but I did get a card saying I will be given a pint for giving a pint, so that's a fair trade.
A pint for a pint. Give a pint of blood, get a pint of beer.
Well, I think it's unique to get caught in the bar. It's something you can tell your kids one day. It's like, oh, you see that bar over there? I get caught there one day during the pandemic.
Donors are given a voucher for a free beer, which can be redeemed when bars are back open. Stout NYC had more than 60 donors walk through its doors Thursday, so many that they were fully booked. The bar's owner says he got the idea from blood banks in Ireland.
When you get blood in Ireland, they give you a pint of Guinness because it's stout. They give you a pint of stout because it's full of iron. So I thought to myself, well, why don't we have blood drives in our empty bars that nothing's happening at? Turn a negative into a positive.
The Red Cross is becoming increasingly worried about the nation's blood supply, saying 50,000 blood drives have been canceled since March. New York City is also offering incentives, giving donors a chance to win VIP football tickets and a year's worth of Krispy Kreme donuts. As for the free beer at Stout NYC, some donors are hoping for something a little stronger.
I was hoping they would give me a whiskey at the end, but I don't think that's going to happen.
She's just gonna have to settle for the IOU beer.
What about those Krispy Kreme though?
Ooh.
A pint for a dozen? I'll take it.
That's what's making news in America this morning. Right now on America this morning, bracing for shutdowns, the new restrictions as coronavirus cases and hospitalizations set even more records and a growing economic toll.
New figures on American job growth slowing down, plus the new security scare, how hackers are threatening to disrupt distribution of a COVID vaccine.
Tensions growing. President Trump's feud with the Attorney General escalates, while a Trump staffer has now been banned from entering the Justice Department.
Overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were able to make, how they allegedly scammed the system to get it.
Big cat attack. Well, we're learning about the tiger that mauled a volunteer at a wildlife sanctuary made famous by the show Tiger King.
Roughing the ref, what caused a high school football player to attack an official on the field.
And false advertising? Why some coffee lovers are suing over what's not in their cup.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We begin with new details about the coronavirus vaccine and how it will be distributed.
New York's governor calls it the weapon that will win this war. In the meantime, more parts of the country are bracing for shutdown. California's governor says a regional stay-at-home order will serve as an emergency brake to stop the spread of the virus.
And yet, we continue to see examples of people violating health guidelines. A hotel near Chicago reportedly hosted a wedding for 150 guests.
Nearly a dozen states have just seen a record increase in COVID infections, and hospitalizations have set another record nationwide. This morning, the country wrestling with a third wave of COVID.
We're still going through a challenging time.
In about 2 weeks, hospitals will be full. It's time to cancel everything. And if it isn't essential, don't do it.
California is announcing new plans for regional restrictions.
We need to meet this moment head on, and we need to do everything we can to stem the tide, to bend the curve.
In Ohio, officials are delivering new mobile morgues.
Over the Thanksgiving weekend, we became completely filled out here at the morgue.
In North Dakota, Air Force nurses are now helping the ICUs.
It really moved pretty quickly.
Their introductory training has been slashed from 6 weeks to only 3 days.
Everybody comes in mostly with respiratory distress, which is scary. If you're having any problems breathing and you never have before, that's a scary thing to get used to.
The CDC is now saying the U.S. could reach a death toll of 329,000 by Christmas. President-elect Joe Biden is setting a new goal for Americans as he prepares to take office.
I'm going to ask the public for 100 days. Mask. Just 100 days to mask. Not forever, 100 days. And I think we'll see a significant reduction.
And now, potential problems for vaccine distribution plans. IBM says hackers are trying to disrupt the procedures that keep the vaccines properly cooled during transport.
This is the weapon that is going to win the war.
Governor Andrew Cuomo is giving New Yorkers a look at the Pfizer vaccine, which must be stored at minus 94 degrees. The box can stay open for no more than 90 seconds.
So it's like this crazy precision relay.
Without a doubt, news of the hacking threat comes as the Wall Street Journal reports Pfizer dealt with early supply chain obstacles. The company first planned to produce 100 million doses, but then slashed that in half after finding some raw materials didn't meet its standards. Pfizer says the problems have been fixed and vows it will still hit its target of delivering 20 million doses in the U.S. this month. But delivering the vaccine will be a challenge like never before. ABC News getting an inside look at United Airlines cold storage facility at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
The cold chain is for products that really need refrigerated temperature from start to finish, because there are so many different steps along the way that it's critical that they're kept at the exact same temperature for the duration of the journey.
And back to President-elect Biden's plans, he asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to stay in his role and also become his chief medical advisor.
Wall Street is expecting a grim jobs report this morning. The November figures coming out today are expected to show that employers added as many as 200,000 fewer jobs than they did back in October. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, a $900 billion bipartisan stimulus package is picking up momentum after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi discussed the issue for the first time since the election. McConnell says a compromise is within reach, and a growing number of Republicans are now supporting the measure.
Also in Washington, tensions are growing between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. Now a White House official has been blocked from entering the Justice Department. It comes as President Trump and his lawyer Rudy Giuliani refuse to give up their fight to overturn the results of the election. And now one of their hearings has taken a bizarre turn. ABC's Faith Abube is here with the details there in Washington. Faith, good morning.
Hey, good morning. President Trump is refusing to say whether he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr, and now the person charged with being President Trump's eyes and ears in the Justice Department is being banned from the building.
This morning, new signs of growing tensions between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. According to the Associated Press, Trump's liaison at the Justice Department has been banned from its headquarters after allegedly pressuring staff to give up sensitive information about election fraud. On Thursday, President Trump expressing frustration at Barr, accusing him of not thoroughly looking into election fraud claims.
Well, he hasn't done anything, so he hasn't looked. They haven't looked very hard, which is a disappointment, to be honest with you.
Do you still have confidence in Bill Barr?
Ask me that in a number of weeks from now.
Barr did authorize U.S. attorneys to look for evidence of voting irregularities, but later said the Justice Department has not seen fraud on a scale that would change the election's outcome. But that's not stopping the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, from pushing lawmakers to overturn the election results, speaking at the state Senate hearing in Georgia yesterday.
You are the final arbiter of who the electors should be and whether the process is fair or not.
After some Republican members of the committee expressed support for Giuliani's request, a Democrat blasted the claims and pleaded with her colleagues to stop the rhetoric.
That started to get some of the vile things that some of our other colleagues at the Secretary of State's office have. Give it oxygen. And I think that does a disservice to so many Georgians.
That appearance was Giuliani's fourth at a state election hearing in the last week. This morning, the Washington Post reporting a judge is now calling Giuliani's star witness at a Michigan hearing not credible after video of her testimony racked up 20 million views online.
Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom here.
Zero. There's zero. So what about the turnout rate? 120%?
And as for President Trump's pardon plans, the website Political is reporting President Trump is considering preemptive pardons for as many as 20 of his aides and associates. Kenneth?
It does appear to be Pardon Watch 2020. All right, Faith, thank you.
For the first time, the House is set to vote today on a bill aimed at decriminalizing marijuana use at the federal level. The legislation also calls for expunging certain marijuana convictions. The bill has widespread support in the Democratic-controlled House, but it stands almost no chance of passing the Senate.
Police in Houston are investigating a possible human smuggling operation. One man who claims he escaped from a kidnapping led police to a home where more than 24 people were found, and many were almost naked. Investigators say the victims were picked up near the Mexico border days ago. Suspects have been detained. A frightening scene on this highway near Minneapolis. A small plane you see there came in for a crash landing. The veteran pilot said the engines had failed. The plane hit an SUV on the road after landing. No one in the vehicle or the plane was injured.
The powerful winds that have been fueling wildfires in Southern California are decreasing this morning, but forecasters warn that danger is still high. The largest fire has grown to 10 square miles and is only 10% contained. The flames have forced thousands to flee their homes. ABC's Will Carr is near the front lines.
You can hear the plant eating through this bone-dry brush, which is acting essentially as a jet fuel for this fire.
Officials say at least 2 firefighters have been injured.
Time now for a look at your Friday weather. The radar shows a storm system that will be racing along the East Coast today, bringing heavy rain for millions of people. Everyone from the southeast all the way to New England will be affected. Some areas could get 4 inches of rain, and inland areas could see 6 inches of snow by tomorrow afternoon. Winter storm watches are posted in parts of New England. Looking at today's high temperatures, Boston and New York will be in the 50s, 40s around the Great Lakes, mild across the south, 50 in Albuquerque. Coming up, the jet skier who pulled off a delicate dolphin rescue.
We also had the tiger attack at Carol Baskin's animal sanctuary, where she's saying after a volunteer's arm was nearly ripped off.
And the growing lawsuit over coffee and claims of false advertising. Are consumers not getting what they pay for?
In times like these, the newsmaking events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
Do you trust him?
I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him. Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange.
Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that you can't trust?
Yes.
Still working on it?
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still alive.
Yes.
It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington. A very busy news night.
America's #1 news source, ABC News, straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News, straightforward.
Another week in America. Our country facing a new test now.
Everyone on the airport, almost no one here.
The lost flight. Right.
This is the nursing home just outside Seattle. Bedrooms are people that just rushed off
This is ground zero.
It is shut down.
Another ambulance just pulled out.
Now they're headed to the hospital.
Time is of the essence.
You can see the ship behind you. The first time tests have been done here.
Hello.
ABC News, there for you. This morning,
No,
in a performance that'll make
oh, quick, I break. Maybe I can say it.
Alexa, this morning on Good Morning America, sponsored by CarMax.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness can. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
Back now with the dolphin rescue off the coast of Florida. 2 jet skiers spotted the dolphin after it got tangled and broke. They used a large knife to cut it free after the rescue. The men say a pod of dolphins circled their jet skis as if to say thank you.
Now to the tiger attack at the Florida Animal Sanctuary owned by Carol Baskin, the woman made famous by the Netflix series Tiger King. ABC's Andrea Fajii reports on the victim and how it happened.
This morning, questions about how a volunteer at Carol Baskin's Big Cat Rescue was mauled by one of their own tigers. Carol Baskin, most recently a Dancing with the Stars contestant, gained fame on the Netflix series Tiger King. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. The show focusing on her rivalry with fellow cat sanctuary owner Joe Exotic. How Exotic accused Baskin of killing her former husband, even though police have never named a suspect in his disappearance.
And we believe it's setting the tigers.
But on Thursday, it wasn't the feud between Baskin and Exotic that had police racing to the compound. Baskin Sanctuary revealing on its website that a longtime volunteer was attacked by a tiger after reaching into one of the cages.
So I ran over and she said, he's got my arm. And I saw with her arm in his mouth. And I ran over, he let go. She felt his arm.
According to the Post, Candy Kauser was trying to feed a young tiger named Kimba when he grabbed her arm and nearly tore it off at the shoulder. A similar incident happened on Tiger King.
About an hour ago, we had an incident where one employee stuck their arm through the cage and a tiger tore her arm off.
Experts say these sanctuaries often portray the animals as safe, but they remain dangerous.
I think anytime you put any kind of fluff around an animal like that, you really are portraying the wrong message.
Florida wildlife officials are now investigating. Big Cat Rescue claims Candy Kauser broke protocol by reaching into the cage. Kauser was in surgery overnight, and the rescue says she can move her fingers. Mona, Kenneth, Andrea, thank you. Some coffee lovers claim they're not getting enough Folgers in their cup. Folgers is facing a class action lawsuit accused of shortchanging consumers on the number of cups of coffee promised per container. A Chicago woman claims the company falsely advertised how many cups could be made from each container, and similar complaints have been made around the country claiming Folgers could owe millions of dollars. The company did not respond to requests for comment.
Coming up, a high school football player accused of attacking a referee. The video next.
Also ahead, overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were caught making.
The most powerful stories of all time, anytime. Nightline. Your mom said, comb hair. Your dad told you, smart knock. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day, where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking information of the day to help you navigate through these times. That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I'm saying that.
Wake me up.
Friday nights, 9 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, the hunt. True crime, 2020. Friday nights, 9 Central on ABC. This place is all about magic. That's what it's all about. Christmas in the trenches. Prepare to have your little ducky mind blown.
Now with a high school football player in Texas slamming into a referee on the field. This was in Edinburgh, Texas. It came moments after the player was ejected for a personal foul. He was then escorted from the field by police. No word if he'll face any charges. Ref was treated for concussion-like symptoms.
Public transit workers in New York have ignited outrage after being busted collecting big money in overtime. Investigators say 5 MTA employees were paid more than $1 million while they were home, on vacation, or even bowling. They're accused of putting in for hundreds of hours of OT. One was paid about $460,000. They could even face 10 years in prison.
Turning back to the coronavirus, we're learning more about when children can be vaccinated. Also this morning, a new threshold for when more of the economy may be forced to shut down. Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Lala Garibagian about these headlines. As cases continue to rise, so does concern about more lockdowns. The mayor of Los Angeles already telling residents, go ahead and cancel everything. And now the state's governor says regions will shut down if local hospital ICUs drop below 15% capacity. What's your take on that move?
I actually worry that it's not strict enough, and it may contribute to a delay in mitigating COVID transmission. We need to flatten the curve.
And now to the vaccine. A new study shows that people who got Moderna's vaccine still had antibodies 3 months later. Sounds promising, but what do those results really tell us?
It showed that although they had a slight decline over time, they did have elevated levels at 3 months time period, which is important to understand the long-term efficacy of a vaccine. The other thing that they found was that it activated memory cells, which shows that the body may remember the virus in order to produce new antibodies if they got reinfected.
And Dr. Garibagian, that vaccine reportedly 94% effective, but what else can you tell us remains uncertain about the vaccine's effectiveness?
It's a matter of how long the immunity will last. As we vaccinate more people, that's when we really will know the long-term effect of this vaccine.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says some older children may be able to get vaccinated beginning in March. Can you discuss the challenges of vaccinating kids and your thoughts on that date he threw out?
The goal is definitely to vaccinate everyone, and the sooner the better. Of course, they're going to do it in a tiered approach where it starts with the adult population, then trials can start in school-aged children, and to then see over several months' time of the efficacy and safety in that population to then be able to vaccinate all school-aged children.
Our thanks to Dr. Garibagian.
As temperatures go down, we're getting some helpful tips on the best way to mask up. Doctors say a mask designed to block the virus is totally different than one used to keep your face warm. And face coverings don't work if they get wet. Also, your winter scarf is no substitute for a face mask.
Not all masks are created equal. The recommendation is that a mask should have 2 layers of fabric, and the fabric should be a tight weave. So a scarf is not a tight enough weave to serve as that barrier.
And doctors recommend putting on your face mask before your hat and gloves.
Coming up, the woman who keeps nearly 500 cats in her house.
But first, the new move being called a seismic shift in Hollywood. The effect on movie fans, next.
Yes, mornings may look different these days. Where you start your day, where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking information of the day to help you navigate through these times. That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
The most powerful stories of all time, anytime. Nightline. ABC News, America's #1 news source. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward. And download the app now and sign up to get important breaking
ABC News Live.
Get it streaming everywhere, right to you.
Tonight on ABC.
Time to check the pulse on this Friday. We begin with a potential game changer in Hollywood.
It's a new plan from Warner Brothers. The studio says it will release all of its movies next year on streaming on HBO Max on the same day they debut in theaters.
Yeah, Warner Brothers says for now the plan is limited to 2021 because it's unclear when movie going will return to normal.
The new normal. Tis the season for the ugly holiday sweater.
And this year Microsoft has updated its version, but good luck trying to find one. Microsoft says this year's ugly sweater sold out faster than the latest Xbox.
The upside is that sales raised money for Girls Who Code, a charity working to get more women into computer science.
Nice. Next, cleaning up after your pets is no fun.
Okay, but imagine if you had hundreds of furry friends living right in your home. We're talking nearly 480 cats along with some dogs. That's how many pets a woman from Mon takes care of in her home every day.
So she rescued most of them from the street and spends nearly $8,000 a month to feed them. That's...
Oh, you see that cat fight?
I think I like cat fights. I would be fighting someone if that many cats was in my home. Okay.
It was personal. Okay.
I get it.
Finally, a dog who knows when to be serious.
That was rough, by the way, because he's a K-9 officer in Edmond, Oklahoma. Check out Robbie holding perfectly still while sitting for his official portrait.
Is he smizing? The police say Robbie is all work and no play until, of course, it's time to play, and then he's full of energy.
Let Robbie knock on that house with all those cats. Oh.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live. 24/7 streaming news source for ABC News. Imagine breaking news, live events as they happen, streaming live, non-stop, straight to you. Imagine instant, incredible access to the most compelling live video. Original, on the edge, breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, all the most innovative storytellers, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free. And imagine the most celebrated, epic live events and moments, all playing out right before your eyes. Go there now at ABC News Live. Think of it as your live streaming adrenaline rush.
Just look at all of the smoke here.
Real, raw, live. No matter where the next step takes us, we're taking it.
It's frightening.
And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Behind the scenes, exclusive access.
Take you inside for an extraordinary tour here on ABC News Live. This is it.
It's time to go there, be there, experience it live on the scene. Maybe that's why, in just 1 year, ABC News Live is already America's #1 live streaming news. And imagine this, it's free. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime, streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. Checking the top stories, President Trump is refusing to say if he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr. Days after Barr said investigators saw no evidence of widespread election fraud, the president claimed they didn't look hard enough. As tensions rise, a White House liaison has been banned from entering the Justice Department. She's accused of trying to pressure staff for more information on election fraud.
Authorities are investigating the shooting death of a 1-year-old boy in Washington, D.C. Police say Carmelo Duncan was in a car with his father and another child when the vehicle was hit by at least 10 bullets. A $60,000 award is now being offered in that case.
The monthly jobs report out this morning is expected to show evidence of an economic slowdown last month as the pandemic took another turn for the worse. 11 states have just reported a record number of new infections. Support on Capitol Hill for a $900 billion economic stimulus bill is growing.
Today's weather, heavy rain in the southeast and along the east coast. That system moves into the northeast tonight. It will be clear across the rest of the country and more strong winds could fuel wildfires in Southern California.
And finally from us on this Friday morning as we close out the week, the gift that keeps the beer flowing.
A bar is tackling the country's shortage of blood donors by offering a pint for a pint. With blood supplies dangerously low, one New York City bar is hoping to motivate donors and wet their whistle at the same time.
It's very interesting walking past the bar, and but I did get a card saying we'll be given a pint for giving a pint, so that's a fair trade.
A pint for a pint. Give a pint of blood, get a pint of beer.
Well, I think it's unique to the Golden Bar. It's something you can tell your kids one day. It's like, oh, you see that bar over there? I get good there one day during the pandemic.
Donors are given a voucher for a free beer, which can be redeemed when bars are back open. Stout NYC had more than 60 donors walk through its doors Thursday, so many that they were fully booked. The bar's owner says he got the idea from blood banks in Ireland.
And when you get blood in Ireland, they give you a pint of Guinness because it's stout. They give you a pint of stout because it's full of iron. So I thought to myself, well, why would have blood drives in our empty bars that nothing's happening at and turn a negative into a positive?
The Red Cross is becoming increasingly worried about the nation's blood supply, saying 50,000 blood drives have been canceled since March. New York City is also offering incentives, giving donors a chance to win VIP football tickets and a year's worth of Krispy Kreme donuts. As for the free beer at Stout NYC, some donors are hoping for something a little stronger.
I was hoping they would give me a whiskey at the end, but I don't think that's going to happen.
She's just gonna have to settle for the IOU beer.
What about those Krispy Kreme, though?
Ooh.
A pint for a dozen? I'll take it.
That's what's making news in America this morning. Right now on America this morning, bracing for shutdowns, the new restrictions as coronavirus cases and hospitalizations set even more records and a growing economic toll.
New figures on American job growth slowing down. Plus the new security scare, how hackers are threatening to disrupt distribution of a COVID vaccine.
Tensions growing. President Trump's feud with the Attorney General escalates. Why a Trump staffer has now been banned from entering the Justice Department.
Overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were able to make, how they allegedly scammed the system to get it.
Big cat attack. Well, we're learning about the tiger that mauled a volunteer at a wildlife sanctuary made famous by the show Tiger King.
Roughing the ref, what caused a high school football player to attack an official on the field.
And false advertising? Why some coffee lovers are suing over what's not in their cup.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We begin with new details about the coronavirus vaccine and how it will be distributed.
New York's governor calls it the weapon that will win this war. In the meantime, more parts of the country are bracing for shutdown. California's governor says a regional stay-at-home order will serve as an emergency brake to stop the spread of the virus.
And yet, we continue to see examples of people violating health guidelines. A hotel near Chicago reportedly hosted a wedding for 150 guests.
Nearly a dozen states have just seen a record increase in COVID infections, and hospitalizations have set another record nationwide. This morning, the country wrestling with a third wave of COVID.
We're still going through a challenging time. In about 2 weeks, hospitals will be full. It's time to cancel everything. And if it isn't essential, don't do it.
California is announcing new plans for regional restrictions.
We need to meet this moment head on, and we need to do everything we can to stem the tide, to bend the curve.
In Ohio, officials are delivering new mobile morgues.
Over the Thanksgiving weekend, we became completely filled out here at the morgue.
In North Dakota, Air Force nurses are now helping the ICU.
Really moved pretty quickly.
Their introductory training has been slashed from 6 weeks to only 3 days.
Everybody comes in mostly with restless, which is scary if you're having any problems.
Saying the U.S. could reach a death toll of 320.
Just 100 days to mask, not forever, 100 days. And I think we'll see a significant reduction.
And now, potential problems for vaccine distribution plans. IBM says hackers are trying to disrupt the procedures that keep the vaccines properly cooled during transport.
This is the weapon that is going to win the war.
Governor Andrew Cuomo is giving New Yorkers a look at the Pfizer vaccine, which must be stored at minus 94 degrees. The box can stay open for no more than 90 seconds.
So it's like this crazy precision relay.
Without a doubt, news of the hacking threat comes as the Wall Street Journal reports Pfizer dealt with early supply chain obstacles. The company first planned to produce 100 million doses, but then slashed that in half after finding some raw materials didn't meet its standards. Pfizer says the problems have been fixed and vows it will still hit its target of delivering 20 million doses in the U.S. this month. But delivering the vaccine will be a challenge like never before. ABC News getting an inside look at United Airlines cold storage facility at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
The cold chain is for products that really need refrigerated temperature from start to finish, because there are so many different steps along the way that it's critical that they're kept at the exact same temperature for the duration of the journey.
And back to President-elect Biden's plans, he asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to stay in his role and also become his chief medical advisor.
Wall Street is expecting a coming out today are expected to show that employers added as many as 200,000 fewer jobs than they did back in October. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, a $900 billion bipartisan stimulus package is picking up momentum after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker Nancy Pelosi discussed the issue for the first time since the election. McConnell says a compromise is within reach, and a growing number of Republicans are now supporting the measure.
Also in Washington, tensions are growing between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. Now, a White House official has been blocked from entering the Justice Department. It comes as President Trump and his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, refused to give up their fight to overturn the results of the election. And now one of their hearings has taken a bizarre turn. ABC's Faith Abube is here with the details there in Washington. Faith, good morning.
Hey, good morning. President Trump is refusing to say whether he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr, and now the person charged with being President Trump's eyes and ears in the Justice Department is being banned from the building.
This morning, new signs of growing tensions between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. According to the Associated Press, Trump's liaison of the Justice Department has been banned from its headquarters after allegedly pressuring staff to give up sensitive information about election fraud. On Thursday, President Trump expressing frustration at Barr, accusing him of not thoroughly looking into election fraud claims.
Well, he hasn't done anything, so he hasn't looked. They haven't looked very hard, which is a disappointment, to be honest with you.
Do you still have confidence in Bill Barr?
Ask me that in a number of weeks from now.
Barr did authorize U.S. attorneys to look for evidence of voting irregularities. The leader said the Justice Department has not seen fraud on a scale that would change the election's outcome. But that's not stopping the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, from pushing lawmakers to overturn the election results. Speaking at the state Senate hearing in Georgia yesterday.
You are the final arbiter of who the electors should be and whether the process is fair or not.
After some Republican members of the committee expressed support for Giuliani's request, a Democrat blasted the claims and pleaded with her colleagues to stop the rhetoric.
Not starting to get some of the vile things that some of our other colleagues at the Secretary of State's office have. We give it oxygen. And I think that does a disservice to so many Georgians.
That appearance was Giuliani's fourth at a state election hearing in the last week. This morning, the Washington Post reporting a judge is now calling Giuliani's star witness at a Michigan hearing not credible. After video of her testimony racked up 20 million views online.
Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the balance here.
Zero. There's zero. So what about now, right? 120%?
And as for President Trump's pardon plans, the website Political is reporting President Trump is considering preemptive pardons for as many as 20 of his aides and associates. Kenneth?
It does appear to be Pardon Watch 2020. All right, Faith, thank you.
For the first time, the House is set to vote today on a bill aimed at decriminalizing marijuana use at the federal level. The legislation also calls for expunging certain marijuana convictions. The bill has widespread support in the Democratic-controlled House, but it stands almost no chance of passing the Senate.
Police in Houston are investigating a possible human smuggling operation. One man who claims he escaped from a kidnapping led police to a home where more than 24 people were found and many were almost naked. Investigators say the victims were picked up near the Mexico border days ago. Suspects have been detained. A frightening scene on this highway near Minneapolis. A small plane either came in for a crash landing. The veteran pilot said the engines had failed. The plane hit an SUV on the road after landing. No one in the vehicle or the plane was injured.
The powerful winds that have been fueling wildfires in Southern California are decreasing this morning, but forecasters warn the danger is still high. The largest fire has grown to 10 square miles and is only 2% contained. The flames have forced thousands to flee their homes. ABC's Will Carr is near the front lines.
You can hear the flames eating through this bone-dry brush, which is acting essentially as a jet fuel for this fire.
Officials say at least 2 firefighters have been injured.
Time now for a look at your Friday weather. The radar shows a storm system that will be racing along the East Coast today, bringing heavy rain for millions of people. Everyone from the southeast all the way to New England will be affected. Some areas could get 4 inches of rain, and inland areas could see 6 inches of snow by tomorrow afternoon. Winter storm watches are posted in parts of New England. Looking at today's high temperatures, Boston and New York will be in the 50s, 40s around the Great Lakes, mild across the south, 50 in Albuquerque. Coming up, the jet skier who pulled off a delicate dolphin rescue.
Also ahead, the tiger attack at Carol Baskin's animal sanctuary, where she's saying after a volunteer's arm was nearly ripped off.
And the growing lawsuit over coffee and claims of false advertising. Are consumers not getting what they pay for?
In times like these, the news-making events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
Do you trust him? I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him.
Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of love doesn't apply to you.
No.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange. Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that you can't trust?
Yes.
Still working out.
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still lying. It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington. A very busy news night.
America's #1 news source. ABC News, straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News, straightforward.
Another week in America, a country facing a new test now.
Wuhan airport, no one here.
The lost flight out of road.
This is the nursing home just outside Seattle. Dozens of people that just rushed off this country.
This is ground zero.
It is shut down.
And an ambulance just pulled out. Now they're headed to the hospital. Time is of the essence.
You can see the ship behind you.
The first time tests have been done here.
Afternoon, evening, late night, 24/7. ABC News, there for you. This morning, wake up with Phoebe Rexa. And a performance that'll make everyone jealous. Phoebe Rexa, this morning on Good Morning America, sponsored by CarMax.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
Back now with the dolphin rescue off the coast of Florida. 2 jet skiers spotted the dolphin after it got tangled in rope. They used a large knife to cut it free after the rescue. The men say a pod of dolphins circled their jet skis as if to say thank you.
Now to the tiger attack at the Florida Animal Sanctuary owned by Carol Baskin, the woman made famous by the Netflix series Tiger King. ABC's Andrea Fajii reports on the victim and how it happened.
This morning, questions about how a volunteer at Carol Baskin's Big Cat Rescue was mauled by one of their own tigers.
Like what exactly happened? One of our pieces got bitten by one of our cats.
Carol Baskin was recently a Dancing with the Stars contestant, gained fame on the Netflix series Tiger King.
You know, you cool cats and kittens at
The show focusing on her rivalry with fellow cat sanctuary owner Joe Exotic. How Exotic accused Baskin of killing her former husband, even though police have never named a suspect in his disappearance.
and we believe that she fed him the tiger.
But on Thursday, it wasn't the feud between Baskin and Exotic that had police racing to the compound. Baskin Sanctuary revealing on its website that a longtime volunteer was attacked by a tiger after reaching into one of the cages.
I heard her yell, so I ran over and she said, "He's got my arm," and I saw him with her arm in his mouth, and when I ran over, he let go. She fell to the ground.
According to the Post, Candy Kauser was trying to feed a young tiger named Kimba when he grabbed her arm and nearly tore it off at the shoulder. A similar incident happened on Tiger King.
About an hour ago, we had an incident where one of the employees stuck their arm through the cage and the tiger tore her arm off.
Experts say these sanctuaries often portray the animals as safe, but they remain dangerous.
I think anytime you put any kind of fluff around an animal like that, you really are portraying the wrong message.
Florida wildlife officials are now investigating. Big Cat Rescue claims Candy Kauser broke protocol by reaching into the cage. Kauser was in surgery overnight, and the rescue says she can move her fingers. Mona, Kenneth. Andrea, thank you. Some coffee lovers claim they're not getting enough Folgers in their cup. Folgers is facing a class action lawsuit accused of shortchanging consumers on the number of cups of coffee promised per container. A Chicago woman claims the company falsely advertised how many cups could be made from each container, and similar complaints have been made around the country, claiming Folgers could owe millions of dollars. The company did not respond to requests for comment.
Coming up, a high school football player accused of attacking a referee. The video next.
Also ahead, overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were caught making.
The most powerful stories of our time. And Nightline. Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smart not. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to us straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day, where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking information of the day to help you navigate through these times. That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
Friday nights, 9 Central, true crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable, follow the clues, the hunt, true crime, 2020, Friday nights, 9 Central on ABC. This place is not all about magic. That's what it's all about. Christmas in the trenches. Prepare to have your doggy mind blown.
Back now with a high school football player in Texas slamming into a referee on the field. This was in Edinburgh, Texas. It came moments after the player was ejected for a personal foul. He was then escorted from the field by police. No word if he'll face any charges. Ref was treated for concussion-like symptoms.
Public transit workers in New York have ignited outrage after being busted collecting big money in overtime. Investigators say 5 MTA employees were paid more than $1 million while they were home, on vacation, or even bowling. They're accused of putting in for hundreds of hours of OT One was paid about $460,000. They could even face 10 years in prison.
Turning back to the coronavirus, we're learning more about when children can be vaccinated. Also this morning, a new threshold for when more of the economy may be forced to shut down. Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Lala Giriwagyan about these headlines. As cases continue to rise, so does concern about more lockdowns. The mayor of Los Angeles already telling residents, go ahead and cancel everything. And now the state's governor says regions will shut down if local hospital ICUs drop below 15% capacity. What's your take on that move?
I actually worry that it's not strict enough, and it may contribute to a delay in mitigating COVID transmission. We need to flatten the curve.
And now to the vaccine. A new study shows that people who got Moderna's vaccine still had antibodies 3 months later. Sounds promising, but what do those results really tell us?
It showed that although they had a slight decline over time, they did have elevated levels at 3 months time period, which is important to understand the long-term efficacy of a vaccine. The other thing that they found was that it activated memory cells, which shows that the body may remember the virus in order to produce new antibodies if they got reinfected.
And Dr. Garibaldian, that vaccine reportedly 94% effective, but what else can you tell us remains uncertain about the vaccine's effectiveness?
It's a matter of how long the immunity will last. As we vaccinate more people, that's when we really will know the long-term effect of this vaccine.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says some older children may be able to get vaccinated beginning in March. Can you discuss the challenges of vaccinating kids and your thoughts on that date he threw out?
The goal is definitely to vaccinate everyone, and the sooner the better. Of course, they're going to do it in a tiered approach where it starts with the adult population, then trials can start in school-aged children, and to then see over several months' time of the efficacy and safety in that population to then be able to vaccinate all school-aged children.
Our thanks to Dr. Garibaldian.
As temperatures go down, we're getting some helpful tips on the best way to mask up. Doctors say a mask designed to block the virus is totally different than one used to keep your face warm. And face coverings don't work if they get wet. Also, your winter scarf is no substitute for a face mask.
Not all masks are created equal. The recommendation is that a mask should have 2 layers of fabric, and the fabric should be a tight weave. So a scarf is not a tight enough weave to serve as a barrier.
And doctors recommend putting on your face mask before your hat and gloves.
Coming up, the woman who keeps nearly 500 cats in her house.
But first, the new move being called a seismic shift in Hollywood. The effect on movie fans, next.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day, where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking information of the day to help you navigate through these times. That's what we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
The most powerful stories of all time, and time. Nightline.
This morning, wake up with Baby Rexa. And a performance that'll make everyone jealous. Baby Rexa. This morning on Good Morning America. Sponsored by CarMax.
This place is all about magic.
Christmas in the trenches. Prepare to have your little ducky mind blown.
time is now for ABC News Live.
Get it streaming everywhere, right to you.
Tonight on ABC.
Time to check the pulse on this Friday. We begin with a potential game changer in Hollywood.
It's a new plan from Warner Brothers. The studio says it will release all of its movies next year on streaming on HBO Max on the same day they debut in theaters.
Yeah, Warner Brothers says for now the plan is limited to 2021 because it's unclear when movie going will return to normal.
The new normal. Tis the season for the ugly holiday sweater.
And this year Microsoft has updated its version, but good luck trying to find one. Microsoft says this year's ugly sweater sold out faster than the latest Xbox.
The upside is that sales raised money for Girls Who Code, a charity working to get more women into computer science.
Nice. Next, cleaning up after your pets is no fun.
Okay, but imagine if you had hundreds of furry friends living right in your home. We're talking nearly 480 cats along with some dogs. That's how many pets a woman from Mons takes care of in her home every day.
So she rescued most of them from the streets and spends nearly $8,000 a month to feed them. That's...
Oh, you see that cat?
I feel like cat fights. I wouldn't be fighting someone if that many pets was around. Okay.
It was personal. Okay.
I get personal.
Finally, a dog who knows when to be serious.
That was rough, by the way, because he's a K-9 officer in Edmond, Oklahoma. Check out Robbie holding perfectly still while sitting for his official portrait.
Is he smizing? The police say Robbie is all work and no play until, of course, it's time to play. And then he's full of energy.
Let Robbie knock on that with all those cats. Oh.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live. Underwater 24/7 streaming news source, ABC News. Imagine breaking news, live events as they happen, streaming live, non-stop, straight to you. Imagine instant, incredible access to the most compelling live video. Original, on the edge, breakthrough storytelling from ABC Graphic, ESPN, all the most innovative storytellers, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free. And imagine the most celebrated, epic live events and moments, all playing out right before your eyes. Go there now at ABC News Live. As your live streaming adrenaline rush.
Just look at all of the smoke here.
Real, raw, no matter where the next step takes us, we're taking it.
It's frightening.
And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Behind the scenes, exclusive access.
Take you inside for an extraordinary tour here at ABC News Live. This is it.
It's time to go there, be there, experience it live on the scene. Maybe that's why, in just 1 year, ABC News Live is already America's #1 live streaming news. And imagine this, it's free. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime. Streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you.
Checking the top stories, President Trump is refusing to say if he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr. Days after Barr said investigators saw no evidence of widespread election fraud, the president claimed they didn't look hard enough. As tensions rise, a White House liaison has been banned from entering the Justice Department. She's accused of trying to pressure staff for more information on election fraud.
Authorities are investigating the shooting death of a 1-year-old boy in Washington, D.C. Police say Carmelo Duncan was in a car with his father and another child when the vehicle was hit by at least 10 bullets. A $60,000 award is now being offered in that case.
A monthly jobs report out this morning is expected to show evidence of economic slowdown last month as the pandemic took another turn for the worse. 11 states have just reported a record number of new infections. Support on Capitol Hill for a $900 billion economic stimulus bill is growing.
Today's weather, heavy rain in the southeast and along the east coast. That system moves into the northeast tonight. It will be clear across the rest of the country, and more strong winds could fuel wildfires in Southern California.
And finally from us on this Friday morning, as we close out the week, the gift that keeps the beer flowing.
Albar is tackling the country's shortage of blood donors by offering a pint for a pint.
With blood supplies dangerously low, one New York City bar is hoping to motivate donors and wet their whistle at the same time.
It's very interesting walking past the bar, and I did get a card saying I will be given a pint for giving a pint. So that's a fair trade.
A pint for a pint. Give a pint of blood, get a pint of beer.
Well, I think it's unique to get blood in the bar. It's something you can tell your kids one day. It's like, oh, you see that bar over there? I get blood there one day during the pandemic.
Donors are given a voucher for a free beer, which can be redeemed when bars are back open. Stout NYC had more than 60 donors walk through its doors Thursday, so many that they were fully booked. The bar's owner says he got the idea from blood banks in Ireland.
When you get blood in Ireland, they give you a pint of Guinness because it's stout. They give you a pint of stout because it's full of iron. So I thought to myself, well, when we have blood drives in our empty bars that nothing's happening at, we turn a negative into a positive.
The Red Cross is becoming increasingly worried about the nation's blood supply, saying 50,000 blood drives have been canceled since March. New York City is also offering incentives, giving donors a chance to win VIP football tickets and a year's worth of Krispy Kreme donuts. As for the free beer at Stout NYC, some donors are hoping for something a little stronger.
I was hoping they would give me a whiskey at the end, but I don't think that's going to happen.
She's just gonna have to settle for the IOU beer.
What about those Krispy Kreme, though?
Ooh.
A pint for a dozen? I'll take it.
That's what's making news in America this morning. Right now on America this morning, racing for shutdowns, the new restrictions as coronavirus cases and hospitalizations set even more records and a growing economic toll.
New figures on American job growth slowing down. Plus the new security scare, how hackers are threatening to disrupt distribution of a COVID vaccine.
Tensions growing. President Trump's feud with the Attorney General escalates. Why a Trump staffer has now been banned from entering the Justice Department.
Overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were able to make, how they allegedly scammed the system to get it.
Big cat attack. Well, we're learning about the tiger that mauled a volunteer at a wildlife sanctuary made famous by the show Tiger King.
Roughing the ref, what caused a high school football player to attack an official on the field.
And false advertising? Why some coffee lovers are suing over what's not in the cup.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We begin with new details about the coronavirus vaccine and how it will be distributed.
New York's governor calls it the weapon that will win this war. In the meantime, more parts of the country are bracing for shutdown. California's governor says a regional stay-at-home order will serve as an emergency brake to stop the spread of the virus.
And yet, we continue to see examples of people violating health guidelines. A hotel near Chicago reportedly hosted a wedding for 150 guests.
Nearly a dozen states have just seen a record increase in COVID infections, and hospitalizations have set another record nationwide. This morning, the country wrestling with a third wave of COVID.
We're still going through a challenging time.
In about 2 weeks, hospitals will be full.
It's time to cancel everything. And if it isn't essential, don't do it.
California is announcing new plans for regional restrictions.
We need to meet this moment head on, and we need to do everything we can to stem the tide, to bend the curve.
In Ohio, officials are delivering new mobile morgues.
Over the Thanksgiving weekend, we became completely filled out here at the morgue.
In North Dakota, Air Force nurses are now helping the ICUs.
It really moved pretty quickly.
Their introductory training has been slashed from 6 weeks to only 3 days.
Everybody comes in mostly with respiratory distress, which is scary. If you're having any problems breathing and you never have before, that's a scary thing to get used to.
The CDC is now saying the U.S. could reach a death toll of 329,000 by Christmas. President-elect Joe Biden is setting a new goal for Americans as he prepares to take office.
I'm going to ask the public for 100 days to mask. Just 100 days to mask, not forever, 100 days. And I think we'll see a significant reduction.
And now, potential problems for vaccine distribution plans. IBM says hackers are trying to disrupt the procedures that keep the vaccines properly cooled during transport.
This is the weapon that is going to win the war.
Governor Andrew Cuomo is giving New Yorkers a look at the Pfizer vaccine, which must be stored at -94 degrees. The box can stay open for no more than 90 seconds.
So it's like this crazy precision relay.
Without a doubt, news of the hacking threat comes as the Wall Street Journal reports Pfizer dealt with early supply chain obstacles. The company first planned to produce 100 million doses, but then slashed that in half after finding some raw materials didn't meet its standards. Pfizer says the problems have been fixed and vows it will still hit its target of delivering 20 million doses in the U.S. this month. But delivering the vaccine will be a challenge like never before. ABC News getting an inside look at United Airlines cold storage facility at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
The cold chain is for products that really need refrigerated temperature from start to finish, because there are so many different steps along the way that it's critical that they're kept at the exact same temperature for the duration of the journey.
And back to President-elect Biden's plans, he asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to stay in his role and also become his chief medical advisor.
Wall Street is expecting a grim jobs report this morning. The November figures coming out today are expected to show that employers added as many as 200,000 fewer jobs than they did back in October. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, a $900 billion bipartisan stimulus package is picking up momentum after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi discussed the issue for the first time since the election. McConnell says a compromise is within reach, and a growing number of Republicans are now supporting the measure.
Also in Washington, tensions are growing between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. Now a White House official has been blocked from entering the Justice Department. It comes as President Trump and his lawyer Rudy Giuliani refused to give up their fight to overturn the results of the election. And now one of their hearings has taken a bizarre turn. ABC's Faith Abube is here with the details there in Washington. Faith, good morning.
Hey, good morning. President Trump is refusing to say whether he still has confidence in Attorney General William Barr, and now the person charged with being President Trump's eyes and ears of the Justice Department is being banned from the building. This morning, new signs of growing tensions between President Trump and Attorney General William Barr. According to the Associated Press, Trump's liaison of the Justice Department has been banned from its headquarters after allegedly pressuring staff to give up sensitive information about election fraud. On Thursday, President Trump expressing frustration at Barr, accusing him of not thoroughly looking into election fraud claims.
Well, he hasn't done anything, so he hasn't looked. They haven't looked very hard, which is a disappointment, to be honest with you.
Do you still have confidence in Bill Barr?
Ask me that in a number of weeks from now.
Barr did authorize U.S. attorneys to look for evidence of voting irregularities, but later said the Justice Department has not seen fraud on a scale that would change the election's outcome. But that's not stopping the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, from pushing lawmakers to overturn the election results, speaking at the state Senate hearing in Georgia yesterday.
You are the final arbiter of who the electors should be and whether the process is fair enough.
After some Republican members of the committee expressed support for Giuliani's request, a Democrat blasted the claims and pleaded with her colleagues to stop the rhetoric.
Not starting to get some of the violent things that some of our other colleagues at the Secretary of State's office has. We give it oxygen, and I think that does a disservice to so many Georgians.
That appearance was Giuliani's fourth at a state election hearing in the last week. This morning, the Washington Post reporting a judge is now calling Giuliani's star witness at a Michigan hearing not credible after video of her testimony racked up 20 million views online.
Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom.
Zero. There's zero. So what about the turnout rate? 120%?
And as for President Trump's pardon plans, the website Politico is reporting President Trump is considering preemptive pardons for as many as 20 of his aides and associates. Kenneth?
It does appear to be Pardon Watch 2020. All right, Faith, thank you.
For the first time, the House is set to vote today on a bill aimed at decriminalizing marijuana use at the federal level. The legislation also calls for expunging certain marijuana convictions. The bill has widespread support in the Democratic-controlled House, but it stands almost no chance of passing the Senate.
Police in Houston are investigating a possible operation. One man who claims he escaped from a kidnapping led police on to a home where more than 24 people were found. Many were almost naked. Investigators say the victims were picked up near the Mexico border days ago. Suspects have been detained. A frightening scene on this highway near Minneapolis. A small plane you see there came in for a crash landing. The veteran pilot said the engines had failed. The plane hit an SUV on the road after landing. No one in the vehicle or the plane was injured.
The powerful winds that have been fueling wildfires in Southern California are decreasing this morning, but forecasters warn the danger is still high. The largest fire has grown to 10 square miles and is only 10% contained. The flames have forced thousands to flee their homes. ABC's Will Carr is near the front lines.
You can hear the flames eating through this bone-dry brush. It's just acting essentially as a jet fuel for this fire.
Officials say at least 2 firefighters have been injured.
Time now for a look at your Friday weather. The radar shows a storm system that will be racing along the East Coast today, bringing heavy rain for millions of people. Everyone from the southeast all the way to New England will be affected. Some areas could get 4 inches of rain, and inland areas could see 6 inches of snow by tomorrow afternoon. Winter storm watches are posted in parts of New England. Looking at today's high temperatures, Boston and New York will be in the 50s, 40s around the Great Lakes, mild across the south, 50 in Albuquerque. Coming up, the jet skier who pulled off a delicate dolphin rescue.
Also ahead, the tiger attack at Carol Baskin's animal sanctuary, where she's saying after a volunteer's arm was nearly ripped off.
And the growing lawsuit over coffee and claims of false advertising. Are consumers not getting what they paid for?
In times like these, the news-making events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
To trust him. I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him.
Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you.
No.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange. Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that you can't trust?
Yes.
Still working out.
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still alive.
Yes.
It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington. A very busy news night.
America's #1 news source, ABC News. Straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News. Straightforward.
Another week in America, a country facing a new test now.
Everyone on the airport, almost no one here.
The lost flight, right.
This is the nursing home just outside Seattle.
This is ground zero. It is shut down.
Another ambulance just pulled out.
Now they're heading off.
Time is of the essence.
You can see the ship behind you. The first time guests have been done here.
Afternoon, evening, late night, 24/7. ABC News. There for you. This morning, wake up with Bibi Rexha. And a performance that'll make everyone jealous. Bibi Rexha. This morning on Good Morning America. Sponsored by CarMax.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
Back now with the dolphin rescue off the coast of Florida. 2 jet skiers spotted the dolphin after it got tangled in rope. They used a large knife to cut it free after the rescue. The men say a pod of dolphins circled their jet skis as if to say thank you.
Now to the tiger attack at the Florida Animal Sanctuary owned by Carol Baskin, the woman made famous by the Netflix series Tiger King. ABC's Andrea Fajii reports on the victim and how it happened.
This morning, questions about how a volunteer at Carol Baskin's Big Cat Rescue was mauled by one of their own tigers.
What exactly happened?
One of the pieces got bitten by one of our cats.
Carol Baskin was recently a Dancing with the Stars contestant, gained fame on the Netflix series Tiger King.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
The show focusing on her rivalry with fellow cat sanctuary owner Joe Exotic. How Exotic accused Baskin of killing her former husband, even though police have never named a suspect in his disappearance.
And we believe that she fed him the tiger.
But on Thursday, it wasn't the feud between Baskin and Exotic that had police racing to the compound. Baskin Sanctuary revealing on its website that a longtime volunteer was attacked by a tiger after reaching into one of the cages.
I heard her yelling, so I ran over and she said he's got my arm, and I saw him with her arm in his mouth, and when I ran over, he let go, she fell to the ground.
According to the Post, Candy Kauser was trying to feed a young tiger named Kimba when he grabbed her arm and nearly tore it off at the shoulder. A similar incident happened on Tiger King.
About an hour ago, we had an incident where one of the employees stuck their arm through the cage and the tiger tore her arm off.
Experts say these sanctuaries often portray the animals as safe, but they remain dangerous.
I think anytime you put any kind of fluff around an animal like that, you really are portraying the wrong message.
Florida wildlife officials are now investigating. Big Cat Rescue claims Candy Kauser broke protocol by reaching into the cage. Kauser was in surgery overnight, and the rescue says she can move her fingers. Mona, Kenneth.
Andrea, thank you. Some coffee lovers claim they're not getting enough Folgers in their cup. Folgers is facing a class action lawsuit accused of shortchanging consumers on the number of cups of coffee promised per container. A Chicago woman claims the company falsely advertised how many cups could be made from each container, and similar complaints have been made around the country claiming Folgers could owe millions of dollars. The company did not respond to requests for comment.
Coming up, a high school football player accused of attacking a referee. The video next.
Also had overtime outrage, the staggering amount of money some public transit workers were caught making.
The most powerful stories of our time. Anytime. Nightline. Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day, where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking new information of the day to help you navigate through these times. That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
David.
high school football player in Texas slamming into a referee on the field. This was in Edinburgh, Texas. It came moments after the player was ejected for a personal foul. He was then escorted from the field by police. No word if he'll face any charges. Ref was treated for concussion-like symptoms.
Public transit workers in New York have ignited outrage after being busted collecting big money in overtime. Investigators say 5 MTA employees were paid more than $1 million while they were home, on vacation, or even bowling. They're accused of putting in for hundreds of hours of OT. One was paid about $4,000 to $60,000. They could even face 10 years in prison.
Turning back to the coronavirus, we're learning more about when children can be vaccinated. Also this morning, a new threshold for when more of the economy may be forced to shut down. Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Lala Giriwagian about these headlines. As cases continue to rise, so does concern about more lockdowns. The mayor of Los Angeles already telling residents, go ahead and cancel everything. And now the state's governor says regions will shut down if local hospital ICUs drop below 15% capacity. What's your take on that move?
I'm actually worried that it's not strict enough, and
Hello, guys. Thank you for staying with me. God bless you all. I'm about to sign off now. And thank you for your support and your thumbs up. You enjoy staying, and hope you were able to grab who you don't have. And they have a nice day. Thank you. God bless you all.
to understand the long-term efficacy of a